Sudden Strike is a series of real-time tactics games set in World War II. You control a faction, such as the Germans, the Soviets, or the Allied forces, and your goal is then to win conflicts using your infantry, tanks, and artillery units. However, the first game in the series was not called Sudden Strike. Counter-Action was developed by the Russian company eschewing as a response to the success of the Command & Conquer game. The gameplay was similar, however Counter-Action did not include any building or resource gathering, but focused solely on controlling your forces on the battlefield. The game was a success, largely due to the fact of its World War II setting that set it apart from other real-time tactics and strategy games of the period. In 1999, eschewing changed their name to Fireglow Games, and it was under this name that they developed the sequel to Counter-Action, which became the first Sudden Strike. It was released in 2000. However, in Russia, the game was dubbed Counter-Action Free, as the planned Counter-Action 2 project had fallen apart. Sudden Strike had more realistic gameplay compared to Counter-Action, and helped pioneer the real-time tactics genre. It also included multiplayer modes. To the surprise of publisher CDV Software Entertainment, Sudden Strike sold more than 600,000 copies, and a sequel was immediately planned. While the sequel was in development, Fireglow Games developed Sudden Strike Forever. Sudden Strike Forever was released in 2001 as an expansion to the original Sudden Strike game. The expansion introduced a more polished game engine, more campaigns, much more historically correct units and equipment, new terrains, and a map and scenario editor. Sudden Strike 2 was released in 2002. Still called Counter-Action 4 in Russia, the game introduced an improved engine that allowed for better graphics and the ability to command battleships, airfields, aircrafts, and trains. Sudden Strike 2 also introduced a new enemy in Japan who you could battle in tropical jungle levels. Like the other games in the series, Sudden Strike 2 received positive reviews from critics. Sudden Strike Resource War was released in 2004 as an enhanced version of Sudden Strike 2. It added 4 new campaigns, but also a controversial building and resource system that became heavily criticized by players and critics alike. This system created the need for players to micromanage their faction by creating factories to produce tanks and vehicles, repairing buildings, and securing ammunition and fuel for their vehicles. In 2006, Sendex Entertainment created Sudden Strike Mobile Edition, which was published by Living Mobile. It was a simplified version of classical Sudden Strike gameplay, and included 3 campaigns with 4 levels each, allowing you to play as the Germans, Soviet and Allied forces. Sudden Strike 3, Arms for Victory, was released in 2007 and was the first game in the series to feature 3D graphics. The game was received with mixed reviews, however, GameSpot has called Sudden Strike 3 the best in the franchise. In 2009, Sudden Strike The Last Stand was released as an improved version of Sudden Strike 3. It added a reworked user interface, making it easier for the player to control units. Also, it included an improved map editor that made it possible to create trenches. Unfortunately, this game also turned out to be the last stand for CDV Software and Fireglow Games, who both ceased to exist around 2010. By 2016, the German company Calypso Media had obtained the rights to the Sudden Strike franchise and announced Sudden Strike 4, which was to be developed by Hungarian company Kite Games. However, in 2017, a few months before the release of Sudden Strike 4, Calypso Media released an app called Sudden Strike Quiz that allowed the player to battle against people from all over the world in a quiz testing your knowledge of World War II. By beating other players, you were able to obtain a discount of up to 25% on Sudden Strike 4 when stacked with the existing Steam discount. Sudden Strike 4 is the newest game in the franchise and releases in August. Sudden Strike 4 will mark the first time a game in the franchise is released on a console, as it is being released on the PlayStation 4 a few days after the launch of its computer version. The game will feature 3 campaigns and 20 scenarios, a skirmish mode, and of course a competitive multiplayer battle mode, and will also feature modding support. For the first time in the franchise, you also have the ability to choose between 9 different commanders with their own specific skill set, including George Patton and Bernard Montgomery.